Well, hello, hello. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. It is your host on the coast, coming to you from somewhere off the coast of nowhere. Let's uh let's kick it off here. Let's not be shy. Let's not be afraid of Michael Jackson fans. You know, I've followed a few of these fans online, the ones who harass people and stuff, and looked at their pages and seen what they're about. And, you know, a lot of cuckoo going on with that. A lot of cuckoo. A lot of cuckoo going on with that. A lot of cuckoo. I am not unconvinced that some have been paid in order to take on these nasty, dirty jobs because Michael, still to this day, has a lot of people on the payroll. Okay? You guys got to understand what's going on here. If you don't understand, you set yourself up for a life of pain and sorrow if you don't understand what an abuser looks like or how they can abuse people. Michael Jackson, in my opinion, was a Class A abuser. Just because he's rich and famous doesn't mean he wasn't. In fact, it would make it easier for him to do it. But I'm going to try and put aside all my biases and just take just a raw look at who the guy was. We are close to the same age, and I've outlived him by a significant number of years. I used to have him up on my wall as a child. It was always him and Donny Osmond. Which one do I like the most, But they were both right up there, I'm going to say I never made up my mind completely. But then it's something you grow out of, right? You're a child. You grow out of the foolishness of being a fan of somebody, and I don't care who they are. You can like somebody, but all the hysterics and the crying and being the fan. Basta. Enough already. I drew my first card about Michael Jackson. I drew my first card about Michael Jackson. And this is what I drew, just random. And I think this succinctly applies to him and his milieu and his people that hung around him. Michael cast a wide net. And woe to you who got caught inside of this web. You must always remember, not only did he have the money, not only did he have the power and the wherewithal, he had a huge celebrity. So he has minions still to this day who can't grow up, who can't move on, still want to imitate his little dances. I don't get any of it. I don't get any of it. It's like, grow the fuck up already, people. Grow the fuck up. But anyways, those of you out there who have been abused, molested, violated, you know what's going on with this. You understand the MO of someone like Michael Jackson. I would say Michael Jackson was a grade 1 perv. That's how I would put him in there. He got away with it. Could anybody else openly admit they slept with children? Well, he tried to, and there was a trial about that. But think about it. Anybody else sleeping with anybody that's other than their child has made a huge mistake and is going to be in deep doo-doo. Now, one of the main things for me about Michael is his disrespect and disregard for the reputations of the children he slept with. If he was this almighty man who loved kids and standing up for them all the time, Michael, why are you sleeping with children and putting their reputation in harm's way? Because you have tainted anybody who ever shared a bed with you, children who shared the bed with you. No one can wash that off of them. Not Macaulay Culkin, not any of those boys to men. Even if they don't admit that he did it, they are tainted by association, and we all know it, and they know it by sleeping in the bed with them. Their careers have all stalled. Anybody, young boy who ever slept in the bed with Michael has not had a happy, good life. Now, many of those boys to men, they don't admit it, especially the celebrities, because when you do look at rape, and my dear children, it does happen. How many uber superstars admitted that Harvey Weinstein did the dirty on them? How many? 0. They all want to say, oh, I knew he was bad. Oh, I knew he was messed up. But not any of your top grade A 1 stars. Probably the only one maybe who did it, who mentioned it years later would be Gwyneth Paltrow. But for the most part, all those top 1A stars, they do not mention what Harvey did to them or what they had to do to get to the top. So let's not make a game out of this and act like Michael Jackson wasn't or couldn't and didn't molest young boys, as if it would be beyond his capability or beyond his reach to do that. My contemporary, who is Michael Jackson, who is very close to my age, had a great career. Was he idolized in his early days to the point that young girls were peeing their pants and things like that? No, I don't think so. You just went to the concert, but it wasn't promoted. That type of adulation was not promoted back in the early days. But when the powers that be saw they can make a lot of money, even more money, off of creating android robots out of young girls to be slaves to the star no matter what, this whole other thing started kicking in. And then when he had his own career, when he went solo, he made it his mission. Admittedly, he told anyone who listened to him, I want to be the most powerful musician, singer, songwriter in the world. I'm not sure if Michael played any instruments, but you would still call him a musician anyways. He made this clear. This was his goal. He wanted to be number one. So he put everything aside in his whole life to achieve this. And I believe that's probably really when the perversion stepped in, because many of these superstars, Elvis Presley, Madonna, when you've superimposed over your whole life this sheath, this shroud of desire for complete and utter pop stardom, it's going to fuck your life up. It's going to ruin all your relationships. It's going to screw your kids up royally. Very few of these people have come out of there unscathed without doing weird, bizarre shit. Okay? And don't get me started on politicians, because I could unload on that too. But right now, as I have a sip of my tea, and it is a beautiful, beautiful foggy morning here, I'm going to get started calling in the energies of Michael Jackson, calling in those honest spirits who can provide us with the truth and the energy that we need in regards to the questions that we ask on the spirit level as we dive deeper and deeper into who was this creation, Michael Jackson. Who was he? What was he about? I'm going to do the Celtic cross, and I'm going to do a exposition of his life, and we're going to go back in time and just look and see. I'm not going to do a lot of the times I do the past, present, future. I'm going to do just kind of a life reading on him. Okay, so I'm going to have some of my tea here and get a little ready. He's been dead for about 15 years now. He died relatively early of a self-inflicted overdose at the hands of another man who should have been in jail forever, and who's not. Do I have sympathy for Michael Jackson? Yes, I do. He was completely enabled from A to Z, completely enabled. But he also knew how to set the trap, and he knew how to be the enabler. That's him. He sits at the center of this. All along these nodes, you could have many other people sitting there. And finally, at the very, very farthest end of these nodes lies the main victims of Michael Jackson, which are his 3 known children, conceived in very strange circumstances, who bear the brunt of this man, who bear the brunt of preserving his legacy so they can preserve their income. He is worth billions of dollars at this point, apparently, as I heard today on the news, because now that he has this movie out, it's just chug-a-lug, glug, 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 Michael Jackson. Well, Michael, you won, I guess, huh? Let's take a look and see what he's about. Let's put a little love in there, too. Gotta have a lot of sympathy for that guy. Was his life a lot harder than anybody else's? I'm going to say yes, because while my life was filled with physical abuse, and many of yours has been too, we then did not have to get up on a stage and perform and put on a gigantic act. So Michael's very good at acting. Very good at acting. More than most of us. We're not good at acting. We're just people. We didn't have to get up on the stage after our dad beat us, hit us, called us names, and perform to the best of your abilities. You know, being cool, being sexy, being everything. So no doubt he had a tragic life, but work on your shit, dude. Michael, work on it. Okay. Let's cut the cards. Well, let's just take a look at his life. I'm going to be doing the Celtic cross here. Wow. Now, let me see. I'm not sure. Sometimes I have gone through the deck and turned, okay, I'm going to have to say that. I did that on this. I've gone through the deck and I've turned all the cards upside down. So now, while all the cards are upside down on this, this doesn't mean that every one of these cards is conflicted, okay? So I'm probably not going to be reading these cards upside down, merely because of that fact. On that wild ride. That's the environment. Always on the wild ride. And let's get these turned the right way. Well, okay. All right. Let's start out on these cards. There's a lot here. There is a lot here. Okay, the basis of this cup is it's kind of hedonism. It's a person who wants to experience it all, do it all, have it all, be it all. Consequences be damned. I'm going to do exactly what I want to do. And I think for the majority of Michael Jackson's life, he did exactly that to the detriment of everyone around him. Has he ever been diagnosed as a classic narcissist? I'm not really so much into that term, but anybody out there in the audience might recognize that and might understand that better than me. He gaslit everybody he knew. I don't think he was honest with a soul because he was constantly on stage. Okay? Basis of the matter, he turned into a hedonist. He wanted it all. And if he wanted little boys to even sleep in his bed, let's say even at the most benign, let's just give him that, the most benign of situations. He wants to sleep with little boys. He wants to have little boys in his bed. This is pre-puberty boys. He wants to have little boys in his bed. He wants to create a whole little world, a Neverland. He's a hedonist, most likely a narcissist. Basis of the matter, he is going to do what he wants to do, and the whole world can be damned. Even the reputations of those little children can be damned. Now, what crosses him for good or for evil, as I interpret these cards? Michael had a lot of personal power, and he had the strength and the stamina, and that's a double-edged sword. He had the strength to continue on abusing children. When it was far past time, everybody knew he was doing it. That's a lot of strength. He had a lot of personal power. Conversely, in regards to the children, he also had no ability to stop himself from the abuse. He could not stop himself. It was most likely a compulsion. It was a compulsion. Michael Jackson needed extreme mental health care and never got it. That's what crosses him. His own personal power, once again, did him in. Basis of the matter, he wanted, as I spoke in the very beginning, he wanted to be the ultimate king of his realm. What did he want? He wanted the strength. He wanted the power. He wanted the Bacchanalian nights. He wanted to do whatever he damn well wanted to do. And he would exercise his strength to anybody that came in his way. He is not the soft-spoken little Michael that you see on the TV and on the movies. So he wanted this power. That's the basis of the matter. He wanted the extreme power. As I said in the beginning of my live stream, he wanted this extreme power. Influence passing out of the way. King of Wands, that magic. The King of Wands is kind of in a way is also the ultimate magician, correct? That influence was passing away. That was waning. That is waning. The highest ideal here was most likely a female energy who could come in and set him to rights. I think he might have been looking for that in his life. He might have been looking for that uber female. He tried to get the uber female with Priscilla and make her be the baby mama, but she did not want to. And Priscilla's mother was very cautionary to her that he only wants you for the babies, and that proved to be true. So highest ideal here was He wanted to be the mother. He wanted to have the mother. Next turn of events with him was greatest fear is always being out in the cold. Always. Greatest fear. People turning their backs on him, losing all that money, losing all that fame. He went out in a blaze of glory of his own demise, a blaze of glory with a needle sticking in his arm. That's Michael Jackson. That's how he died. At the hands of another sick, disgusting man. Most of what goes on in Michael Jackson's life is based on money, who has it, who wants it, who needs it, who's going to get it. It's not like the rest of us mere mortals, just kind of going to the grocery store, going out, Starbucks, getting a cup of coffee, enjoying our life. Every day was a mundane calculation about money. And he left that on the outer edges of this circle to his children, who now must worry every day about these vast amounts of money circulating still on the Michael Jackson spider web. This is him. This is his environment. This is his hopes and fears. And this is the final outcome. Sitting there, the one sitting there, that satisfaction, having all of the money, all of the fame, all of the accolades. This is how he hoped he ended up. That's how he wanted to end up. This is the story of his life. This is the story of his life right here. The sadness, the pain, the drama. This is him, always, and he never got off. Never got off that wheel of fortune. Never. In his whole life did he get off of that wheel. And all along that wheel is all the temptations, all of those temptations in life. The Adam and Eve temptations, the devils, the demons, the demonic angels, the dragons that he is trying to constantly to slay. So this was him. This was him. Could never get off, not even at the very end when he was a senior citizen, could he get off that wheel of fortune. This is his environment. Constantly being stabbed in the back. Constantly. That's how he lived. Who's coming after me today? Who's come? He didn't live. There's no signs and showings here of that security until we get to the very end, which is what he wanted more than anything. He didn't know how to achieve it. Would he have eventually just have become a woman? Maybe in a different time, if he'd had a different career, he could have had all the other surgery he wanted, and he could have been the woman he always wanted to be. Environment was always crappy for him. I don't think he had a happy day in his life. I can't even imagine it. I can't even imagine it. Him just being nominally happy, getting up, having a cup of coffee, and doodling around, because he didn't live anything resembling a normal life. Hopes and fears, Knight of Wands, someone coming in to rescue, to save him. He never had anybody rescue and save him. He had a, what do you want to call it, a cadre, a phalanx, a plethora of lawyers, big, at his beck and call. But Michael Jackson had no one who had his back. And he was always looking for someone to be his knight in shining armor and champion him. And he had to champion his own self. You remember when his sister LaToya, and she's a class 1 liar too, when LaToya got up there and said, my brother is a predator. Oh, and then, she was broke and poor at the time, had zero money, living with that weird dude in Israel. WTF was that all about? I'm sure the family, because if you squeak in the Jackson family, the greasy wheel gets the oil, okay? She squeaked. She was the mouse that roared. Oh my God. We better shut her up. We better wrap her up, get her in, wrap her in some money. LaToya was broke. Most likely, she had no money. I don't know for sure, but I'm just going to say, in fact, I think she even admitted she was broke when she was with that Israeli dude. And he puts her in Israel. I mean, like that's where she wants to be. After that happened, because the spiders had to get her on that web, that's her in there somewhere, wrapped up like a little mummy to this day. And I'm sure she gets an income from them, because how else is she living? The 2 albums that she sold at one point in time in her life, she never had a career. I'm sorry, sad little girl.
Who also talks like a little baby, even though she's like 65 years old.
LaToya came out. Janet knows the truth. Janet had no relationship with him. I'm sure she probably wasn't even invited or allowed in his home. None of them were. He wanted no one from his family there to see what he was doing. Final outcome. What he wanted more than anything was that the feeling of satisfaction. And he never achieved it. He never achieved, because his whole life he was on the outs with his family, with the world, with society, with normal, there's a lot to be said for normal. A lot to be said for normal. But he sacrificed all that normalcy for all this craziness. So that's my read on Michael Jackson. His ultimate goal was he wanted that satisfaction. He wanted to sit back and look at the world and say, yes, look at what I've achieved. But really, by the time I think the allegations started coming out, when he was, I'm going to say 38. I mean, by the time he was 35, the guy was toast. His career was in a shambles. He tried to perk it up by marrying the king, just the king, marrying the king's daughter, right, Lisa Marie, and get her to have his children. He thought that could save his career, or basically just save his life. So really, by the time he was 35, and he'd already, I'd like to sometime do a timeline on him and see when exactly the allegations occurred, and maybe spin that back, because by the time the boys usually made the allegations, they were usually 13 and 14, so they were well into puberty by that time. I don't believe there could be any of the children that he molested allegedly made any allegations when it was actively going on. They waited till they got kicked out of the fold. Be interesting to go do a timeline, but my quickest summation I can say is that by the time he was 35, these things started coming out, and I think he tried to marry Lisa Marie, who I adore, I think he was about 38 or something like that. And the allegations were coming out, and she was to be his big saving grace. I have done some readings on Lisa Marie, and talk about a person with a tragic life. She had many reasons to be a complete idiot, and you didn't see her doing any of the things that Michael Jackson did. So he doesn't get a pass for everything he's done. He doesn't get a pass. Anyways, this is my reading on Michael Jackson. This is your host on the coast, coming to you from somewhere off the coast of nowhere.